to the channel. My name is Brad and this is a Supercoach Pro and we're doing something a bit random today. We're not going for a review of my side, I already did that yesterday. So what we're doing is looking at rookies, popular players owned, and just talking about general things in Supercoach. The first thing I'm going to go over is rookies that are under $200,000 going into round 8. And ones that have, sort of played the games for actually making cash. So the first one on the list is Harrison Jones. I don't know a lot about him. I know he's a forward, obviously, at Essendon. He's a kid, so his scores are going to be quite up and down. But it's his first decent score by the looks of it, and it's not too late to jump on these players. They're still going to make money. Looks like he sort of took his game to the next level, obviously. With that 79, he's shown he can do it before the 63. So if you're struggling for rookie options, he could be a sneaky player because he's going to get the games. He's already played 7. So look, he's not a bad option. We look at RCD there. He's only played the 1 game for 76. Then you got Frederick. He's probably the flavour of the month. Flavour of the week, I should say. I don't know how good his job security is. If you're a Port Adelaide fan, do let me know. But he's not doing too bad either. Campbell, he's like played for a couple clubs, I'm pretty sure. That ruck forward would really help if you wanted to trade out Flynn for him and just have some sort of cover. I don't know what you'd use him for. If you think he can start pushing those sort of scores, he might be a handy ruck forward swing. I don't know much about Matthew O's. He's only played the 1 game for 67, which seems to be pretty good anyway. I wonder if that 0.2% of Carlton fans have started off with him because I know nothing about him. Zach Langdon, I think he came from the Giants, so he's played 6 games. I don't know why they're giving him the fire symbol with a 66, but what has he done? Hasn't done much. So that's interesting. I don't know why they give him fire for that. Jackson Pryor, he got 62 and he's also got the fire symbol, so that's quite funny. But separate this into break evens. That's probably a bit better. Yeah, this is frustrating. I got rid of Highmore last week. He's got such a good break even, and the problem is he'll probably get named this week because he had like 30 touches in the VFL. And he was like go up 59k, so I was just sick of having him there, so I got rid of him. But if he doesn't get named this week, that was probably a good move by me because I'm sick of holding on to players like that. I don't think he's playing at the moment, so I don't know why anyone would jump on him. I think he was used as a sub as well. Lockie Jones, a lot of people kept him and traded him a week early, and that happened, so that's Supercoach for you. Murray, who knows if he gets dropped and comes back again. He's only played 2, and I think he's round 1 or round 2 game, and finally played yesterday or whenever it was. So, round 2 and round 7. So, not sure. Unless you're an Adelaide supporter, you probably know more. You'd go for it if you're a Crow and you know your VFL side or whatever you call it over there. Murphy, what's he done? I think he's played 2 games now on the wing, sort of. He's at Collingwood, so his job security's alright. 47 and 55, which is not too bad. Thilthorpe, he looked alright in his first game. He scored that 91 and then a 55, I think it is. What did he do? But he's expensive, so 91 and a 55. Jordan Sweet, don't go near him. Wouldn't bother. Lockie, who's that? Lewis Young. What's he played? So they're good scores, but I don't know, maybe he got dropped around 6 for whatever reason, but they're actually not bad scores. But there's not too much else to talk about. I think Keane's on the bubble though, if you look at him. 48-59, which is not too bad. Poulter, 52, he's not on the bubble yet. Luke Parks, he's already had his bubble, and his scores are pretty average. I think he's only played the 1 game, this guy. How does Highmore not get named, but this random guy from the midfield gets named in the St Kilda midfield, but no Highmore down back? Brian, that's interesting. I sort of wish Flynn played and we could downgrade to Brian next week. Um, so who knows? Maybe if you wanted to grab a Thilthorpe in your forward line, and then once Flynn makes cash, put Thilthorpe into your ruck, you could. Um, there's something like that, I guess. And then we'll have a look at something else I want to talk at. I'll clear this filter. Get rid of that. We will look at most popular players and just go through some of these guys. So Goulden, I think he's on the chopping block for most people, unless you've got sort of long-term injuries to fix. Zeeble, not a lot of people started him and then everyone's jumped on, which is quite funny because who would have thought Zeeble would be the number one scorer in the forward line? Martin, 70% of the competition, I think, I own him. So if you're a non-owner like I am, you've had a good week because you didn't have to field so many rookies. I think he was at 70%, so I reckon 11% of teams actually chopped him because I'm pretty sure at the start of the round I saw him at 70%. I'm pretty certain about that. So, yeah, these guys are pretty explanational. Like, majority of the team would. I mean, Rose probably passed his break even, which he is, so you could cull him now if you wanted to. Not a lot of downgrade options to go to, so maybe you might want to go up from that. Max Gawn, I didn't start him, and if you're a non-Max Gawn owner, like 48% of us, you look to jump on him in a couple of weeks when he comes down in price. What does he drop? He's only dropped 30k. If he keeps scoring the way they project, which is here, in round 10 we could pick him up for 640, which would be the reason why us non-owners started without him, to spend that money elsewhere, which helped me for my rank, but it's going to burn me if I don't bring him in soon, that's for sure. Matty Flynn should have been my R3, like the smart people in this competition. Scott, he's been really good. I had him in because I did a little bit of study before that game of round 1, and I knew he was 27. He won the VFL Best and Fairest, and I thought, you beauty, he's going to get some games. He's already, footy made, so that was a really good payoff. I didn't go McNeil because I think he was 19 years old, so that's the reason why I didn't grab him over Scott. Kaczynski, finally, if you chopped him a couple of weeks ago, I don't blame you, but since you got rid of him at 22, he's done 62, 104, and 66, and his cash generation's gone through the roof and probably get to 300,000 by there projected, or just under. Brockman, look, most of the competition are going to use him as a loophole. He hasn't scored too bad, but he's an impact player. McRae's fantastic. I'm so glad I started with McRae. He's a great pick, and if you don't have him, he's probably hurting you. Look at those scores. He's like Jared Lyons, hasn't gone under the ton. Braden Campbell, probably time to chop him as well because I don't think he'll get named this week. Chad Warner, he's been pretty consistent. You'd be happy if you started with him, which I did. So, I think he was 144k. Yeah, he was. Yep. And I knew he played 1 or 2 games last year, and I thought hopefully he can break into Swan side because they're a pretty young side, and he did. Short's pretty up and down, depending on if Richmond lose or win. So just ride the wave there. Danaher, a lot of people got rid of him after his 34 game, and then he bangs out 121, 82, 109. So that's fantastic for Danaher owners. That will get you through the ranks pretty quickly. And they've got, good sides coming up to play. Freo, Giants, Gold Coast, but yeah, Richmond, he might get locked down for that game. Jakey Lloyd in a fair amount of sides. He was a safe selection. Look, he's lost a bit of money, but look, I can't imagine he's gone under. Yeah, he hasn't gone under 95, so that's what you expect from Jake Lloyd. You picked him because he was a safe bet, so you'll be happy with that. You won't care about the price drop because you know what you're getting. Waterman's the one you probably shouldn't have grabbed. Essendon supporters probably have a fair idea that he probably wasn't going to be best 22 for a long time. He scored 2 goals there, 2 goals there, and you sort of knew if he didn't do well here, he'd be gone. So that was an obvious point for me. That's why I didn't grab him. I knew he'd be good for cash generation, but he'd be playing every second game or something stupid. Tex, I grabbed him at 298, so he's paid off, but he's had a bad week, and I wouldn't blame you if you got rid of him. They've got a tough sort of fixture coming up, but Yeah, I'm not sure what to do with Tex at the moment. Um, Jordan Clark's a bit of a funny one. Like when he actually gets full games, he scores decent. So whether you want to hold and think he can get to 300, you can. It's probably better than playing Paddy Dow on the field. Oliver is such a good pick. Like if you started him and you weren't concerned about his shoulders, like you're laughing at now because you're probably in that top 1%. He's only had that one bad tag game. Um, he's so consistent. I actually thought he'd do really well, so that's interesting that this weekend he went 116. I thought he was going to go 150. I thought he'd be out of reach. What's his break even, just so we can see it? It is 123. So if you're a non-owner, you probably jump on. Um, what's the Bont? The Bont's break even is 127, so that's good. So these midfielders is now starting to become the price where they should be instead of paying this top dollar for them, which I hate paying top dollar for some players. Sometimes they're not worth it. Chapman, I think he injured his shoulder, so it's probably time for him to go if you've got the luxury to do that too. Taranto, he's owned by a fair bit of that sort of top 1,000. This can go away. So he's done really well if you're a Taranto owner. He's got 107, a bad 67, but he scored really well here. 114, 90, 85, 102, 139. Wow, if you're a Crips owner, you just want to be throwing out Supercoach out the window. Sorry, there goes my screen for whatever reason. It doesn't even like Crips. It had to reload for Crips because he'd gone missing, so it explains it. Well, I scored 64, high of 109. If you got a luxury, cut him. Grab whoever you want. A discounted Jack Steele or someone like that. Who do you think will finish top sort of 6 midfielders? It's reset this, which is probably a good thing because I was sort of rambling on. But if you look at total points, these are the guys you need to get in your side. Like they're just well and truly above the rest. Guthrie's not going to hurt you though because he's 9.1% owned, so I wouldn't worry about players that are less than 10% owned. But yeah, if you're not a Zeeble owner, not a Grundy owner, McRae gone, etc., like these are the things sometimes you got to look at. Lions is a good pod. Monday's a great pod. But yeah, there's some really good picks in here that you'd never think would be in the top 20 after 7 rounds, and it can all change because look, so many primos get injured, and we've got to sideways them or hold on to them, whatever you want to do, whatever your sort of side structures, what sort of rookies you have there, and a lot of people don't have good playing rookies at the moment, so they sort of would rather do a straight side swap instead of fielding a rookie for 2 weeks. What else is interesting, I guess, is the forward line. That's something we've got to talk about. Where are we? Forward line. This is the most uncertainty in Supercoach this year. I mean, you start from number 1. Who would think the man Zeeble is sitting there? Like, these are his scores, and he's still going up in price. That 72 was injury affected. I think he hurt his ankle, but he's gone massive. You could even VC or see him. That'd be so funny if you're in a league matchup and someone captained Zeeble and he came out with 169. I'd just be laughing. Josh Dunkley, he was really highly owned by 50% of competition, and people will be cutting him now. The rest of the 13% will, for sure. That's really sad because he was my starting pick over Dusty. Tex is a good pick, was a good pick. Don't know if I'd jump on him now. His key forward being up and down, so that's expected. Toby Green could get suspended or injured that quickly that he makes me scared to pick him. But if you're that 14%, then look, he's scored probably really well for you anyway, so you're not caring. Impey, to see Impey in the top 5 is really surprising off half back. Like I thought he'd average 80, but not 95. Zorko, he comes with risk as do all these forwards in some realm. He's got that foot issue, but I think he's not a bad pick. Mackay's going to be good because he's up and down. His ceiling will make up for those down games. That's what I'm trying to say. Bolton, yeah, I like the pick, but with Richmond's midfielders, he could get pushed forward. So, like I say, any of these guys are risky for whatever reason. when he got pushed forward for the game when there was pressed here and that, he scored the 29. So you don't know. All these players have their risk. You look at Bailey Dale, that's half back. He's only scored the ton twice. So all these players, people jumped on Tom McDonald. I wasn't one of them. I didn't know what his role would be with Ben Brown back in the side. And apart from that 136, he hasn't done a lot. Pickett, small forward, but he's still in the top 12, so that's crazy. He's actually outscoring Hind and Atkins by a couple points, which is crazy to think that. And he's a super pod. Actually, all three of these guys are super pods. Or you just don't know with any of these guys. Martin, maybe he'll finish top 10 if he decides he wants to play this year. He might not get out of gear till around 14 or 15. You just don't know what he's going to be like. They said something about his foot. I think it was Hardwick said something about his foot after the Melbourne game. So, yeah, I'm not sure. Hawkins, key forward's going to do key forward things this year. Like I said, same with Mackay. Very up and down. He might win your league matchup, but then he might lose you one. I guess it depends what you're playing for, if it's overall or league games. Danaher in the top 22. That's crazy. A lot of people talking about this guy, Zach Bailey, taking midfield minutes off Neil, and I like him as an option, but he's only got the 1 ton, and that was last week, and that was just over a ton. So I know he's played midfield in a few of these games, but they're not crazy numbers for me to want to jump on. But I don't hate it at 387 as value, and he's got the DPP, so that might be appealing. I don't know, but he could come out with 53 and a 51 again as well. So they're so inconsistent. I saw someone on one of the videos jumping on Aaron Hall, which was really interesting. If you take away his injury games, it's actually not a bad pickup, and he's super risky. But 81, 133, hate that, the 37. But look at the 106, that's crazy. Also, something really interesting. I don't know much about this guy. I think he's ex-Cats, right? He's 213k. He scores 119. I didn't watch much of that West Coast game. I was only watching Brayshaw, so I didn't even know what this guy looks like, to be honest. Comes out with 119. That's crazy. Darling, he's not a bad pickup. I've had him in Supercoach draft before, and he's more consistent than what you actually think. Look at that. He's only had that one bad game of 45. So there's some really unique picks, and in the forward line, you could pick whoever you want, because it probably won't make a ton of difference between some of these guys, because they're probably only going to be 20 points difference between number 5 and 20 for the season. Even a bit of fun pick, depending who you go for in the footy, maybe grab a player that is exciting. Say if you're a Melbourne supporter, grab Pickett, because it makes the games much more fun to watch, and he's going to score pretty decent too. I've done that in previous years, and it sort of made Supercoach a bit more fun. And look, he doesn't got a bad floor either, 67, and they've got some good games coming up. So he could be a sneaky top 10 pick. Any of these guys really could. They're so up and down. Even Hogan from here on in, he's not bad for $310,000. I mean, you could do worse, and if he scores 90s, he might be something to look at. It's so varied. I haven't even talked about Marshall because I don't really care about the rider factor, but just that foot injury concerns me. You can grab him, but just has that risk of the foot, and I don't really like bringing in players that sort of miss round 1 or 2 or whatever for an injury, and then they come back, because they sort of give you these sort of numbers. I think he probably got a point to prove, and he'll want to come out strong to show that when Ryder does leave, that he'll be the main man down there in the ruck. So maybe he does all right. Sidebottom, I was really hoping he'd go well this week, following up that 119, but just showed that he's a butcher and he's not the steal that we thought he would be. Look, I don't hate it if you do jump on him, because he might bounce back, but Collingwood look just so terrible. So I'm not sure what his break even is. Break even of 91, so probably float around that price. What are the other players? there was a few players that have been really disappointing that you sort of want, and then they just do nothing. I'll just look at averages. Maybe that's a bit better. Well, see there when we scroll up, the top 20 have only averaged around 88 points. So the forward line top 10 is between 92 and 123. So that's something to look at. So if you want to pick a forward, he has to average you around 90 to be that top of the range, which would make sense. So this is what I mean by these guys. Anywhere from 30 onwards could be a top 10 pick, and it wouldn't really matter because he's only 8 points less, but he's still going to finish around the mark. So the forward line's the hardest one. Butters will come back eventually, but you don't know how he's going to do after the ankle that he had. He might not come back firing as he had been, but he'd be a great pickup if he was fit when he gets back from his ankle and he's running hard and doing what he does best, getting around the ground at that half forward line. So that forward line's really tricky. Probably no point going into the rucks because everyone started, Gorn and Grundy. Look in defence. So the averages for the top 10 here, so that's 100 to 109. So that's pretty interesting too because that's 10-point difference. Like we looked at the forwards and they're completely different. They're like between 90 and 123, and that's only because of Zeeble. But you look at the backline, it's 100 to 110. So if you grab a backline player, you want them to average you 100. That should be the rule of thumb. But these guys can all sort of, this top 20 in general could be anything at the end of the season. Houston was top 10 about a week ago. So they just swap and change. And this backline was pretty predictable, apart from maybe Salem and probably, well, actually don't go by this guy. I don't know why he's in there because we're not looking at total points. But, Lever's not surprising. He's always had the game for Supercoach, just never been able to get on the park. Same with Hardwick, he's pretty good. He's actually been able to get on the park, sorry. Aliir, I thought he was going to be one of those guys that would be super inconsistent, but he seems to have a really good roll down in Port Adelaide. And Port Adelaide got so many backmen that score well, which is interesting. GF, if you're a GF owner, there's 25% a year. What do you do with him? It's really team dependent. I think he's probably made you the money. If you thought he's going to finish top 10, you're probably delusional, but that's okay because most of us are at round 7 anyway, making stupid trades. But yeah, I wouldn't keep him. That's my opinion. But if you think he can continue what he was back in round 4, yeah, go for it. Just going through that side in general. He's an absolute pod. Jack Crisps. I just want to see what he's been scoring because I never would have picked him. I looked at him at the start of the year, but I never had the guts to pick a guy like that. Like, he's scored pretty decent. A floor of 80 is really good. Am I looking at Jack Crisps? Yes, I am. I thought I was going crazy for a second. But, that top 10 is pretty non-surprising. I think the biggest surprise would be your midfield as well as that forward line. Like, I'd have only got 2 guys in that top 10, so that's pretty bad. But, who else does have these guys? Like, yeah, probably a lot of people had these 3, but I went these 2 instead. Guthrie, can he maintain that? That is the question. If you're a Cats fan, you probably think he can, but once danger comes inside, what happens? Consistency with his scores, I'm not sure. Walsh, I started him over Cripps because I think Paddy Cripps is sort of dead and buried. I think he's carrying injuries that we're not aware of and he'll come out in the season. Mundy, if he doesn't get another year next year, I'd be very surprised. They should just offer him a contract. He's the best player at Fremantle, and for his age, that's crazy. Jared Lyons, he's a super pod, super consistent. You look at those numbers, it's just, you know what you're going to get from him. I like that pick. Bont, very up and down, has a okay floor of 82, but then he can score you 140, not a problem. Oliver, he's more consistent. So these two are so different in picks. Like, he's your 130, 115 sort of guy. Not a massive ceiling unless he's playing a downhill skiing side like a Gold Coast or North Melbourne, but even then he didn't score 200 points, which I'm surprised at. Bont, like, he played North 82. I thought he would have got like 180. But then against Gold Coast he gets 133, so and West Coast 145. So you're paying for consistency and then you're paying for overall average of one bad, one good, captaincy, non-captaincy. Like, he'd be a great VC. Steele, I've never liked Steele, and that's going to be a really bad opinion, but I think I've said it on the video before. I don't think he's good as people think. I mean, he tackles, he kicks, whatever, but there's something about Steele, and I know it's probably an unpopular opinion. I mean, he's got the 150 there, but if you look there, 105, 104, 91, 91. Apart from that 150 and that 130, it's okay. But, make of it what he wants. Selwood, he's super consistent. Didn't think he'd be in top 10 this this time of year. You look at his scores and they're really good too. A 96 and 88 is his lowest. That's awesome. Which is surprising because you just wouldn't pick him top 10 this year. He's like 32 or 33. Took Miller. He's inconsistent. He's like a 70 sort of 78 guy, then a 145 sort of guy. Yeah, bang on. He really is that kind of pick, sort of like the Bont. I think his game's more based on tackles and that sort of thing. Merritt's just consistent. He's not going to score me too bad, but he's consistent enough. C91, I like the pick. He's probably not an exciting pick, but he makes me more interested in games, just hoping he gets 30 touches. Brayshaw, even getting tagged, is in the top 15, which is surprisingly good. I just don't like his upcoming fixture. You get tagged against Carlton and Hawthorn again, but what do? You'll probably get tagged against George Hewitt against Sydney. That kind of worries me a bit. His tag factor will probably get him out of that top 20, possibly. Who knows? Brandon Ellis, ex-Richmond player, great player at Richmond. Hated contested ball though. Like, he'd always run away from that sort of thing. He played a lot on the wing. I've never seen him score this consistent in Supercoach. I think he's always averaged about 80, so he must love it there. Maybe he's got a point to prove, but yeah, if he scored like that at Richmond, he'd be one of our best midfielders and probably take McIntosh's spot on that wing. Who do we got here? We've got Trelaw. He's consistent. I bought him in last week, and then he gives me a 97. That's just so typical Supercoach. Greenwood's in that top 20. I like Greenwood as a pick, but he's only turned up twice. Mitchell. Now, Mitchell, we've got to talk about this bloke. He gets a 35, 40 times, and he's only scored 135 once. If you're a non-owner, you could look to bring him in, but is he going to finish top 10? Can he turn this around? Those are questions I wish we knew, because then we would definitely be able to win Supercoach for the year. Parrish, if you're an Essendon supporter, these are the things I'm talking about, and you don't got enough coin, and you think he's going to be able to do this because of those midfielders that you got out, then go for the pick, because they might just play him through the guts, and you're going to have a bad score every now and then, but his ceiling of 162 is amazing. Ollie Wines, I've never liked Wines because he's a butcher, sort of like Taranto. Gets a lot of the ball, a lot of contested ball. But he can really stuff up by just missing a kick straight to the opposition and turning it over. Taranto's a great pick if you started off with him. These scores are really well. Like, 139's awesome. I didn't watch that much of that Adelaide game because I was just watching Tex and nobody else, to be honest. And that 139's crazy. Penderbury, don't know why you would pick him. Like, we all know he's past his prime. And by the way, he's got a basketball background in case you didn't know. Laird, obviously, you hold him in the defence line. But I've got him in the midfield at the moment. Then we have Boak. Boak's interesting. He's so old, but apparently, well, I don't mean so old. Like, he's only 3 years older than me. But he's so consistent. I didn't play last week, and he's going to have those niggles because he's getting old, and it's just going to be, sort of a season that they might manage him. But if you have him, you'd keep him. It's just that quad issue might be a problem if he misses more games. So what you do with that is totally up to your team dependency, I guess. Fife is only there because he missed that game. Because if you go to averages, I'm sure he's probably that top 10. Easily. Yeah, there you go, top 12, sorry. Based on averages, Boak and Fife are there. So that sort of sums it up. Whoa, hang on. Even Sloan on average. That's crazy. I really wanted to bring Sloan in the week that week, I think it was round 4. They came out and said he had an eye injury. I thought, oh, you're kidding me. I had to reverse my trades because I really like Sloan as a pick. He's exciting to watch. And I watch a lot of footy games, and I like picking me as a player because every time he runs over it, you're like, come on, get another point. You can kick it from 50, kick this goal. So, Supercoach for me is more, I go for overall, but I also like to pick players that I like watching, which sounds really stupid because sometimes I won't win you that top 1%, but you can't play Supercoach without it having some sort of fun side to it. I think that's one of the main things people don't look at. They spend too much time going, oh, I'm going to chase this player because he scored 159, so I've got to get Zach Jones. He's going to do this from now on because this, and this. And you give yourself stupid reasons to chase points. People will be looking at Cunnington. They'll go, oh, should I bring him in? And, oh, he scored 145. This is the Cunnington we know. Yeah, bring him in. Do it. Bring in players based on one game. Not really. It's just stupid. People can do what they want. Chasing points generally doesn't get you anywhere unless it's someone that's in form. But you're probably better off to watch these matches yourself to judge if you think that would be a Supercoach pick. Rucks is kind of interesting because I started off having Flynn and Meek and then traded Meek to Hickey once Meek was not playing. And then I had to field Hickey. I bring him in, and I was so annoyed. It actually ruined my Saturday night, which just Supercoach shouldn't do. And I was so fuming. He scored the 87, and I'm like, I hate you, Hickey. You just look stupid, and now you go injure yourself. And then they say, oh, PCL. And then I'm about to put him in for Max Gorn this week. And I had to reverse trades because he was named in the green eye. And I looked at 3 different articles, just double checking that I wasn't going crazy and Hickey was playing. Comes out with 110 as opposed to Grundy that did 63, I think I said in my last video. 63. So that helped me that week. And he made some money. And yeah, he was the second best ruckman score. So that's really cool. Was not expecting that. I'm really hoping he goes up. And if you held on to him for that 1 week, like 6% of sides did, that's really good for you and your rank because you just keep him for now, I guess. Unless you want to trade him to Gorn and you think Gorn's going to hit his crazy break even, which is always possible. Max Gorn, like every time you see like a primo and you're like, nah, they won't hit their break even. He's the kind of guy that could go 223 because he's nuts. I'm not saying you will do it against Hickey, but I mean, sometimes you just don't know what's going to happen in the world of Supercoach. And like I said, back to the forwards, sometimes the 3-round average helps, but sometimes it's a bit deceiving because it's just that 150 that's in there that's making them so good. But yeah, there's a few smokies that I really want to pick in the forward line, but I just don't want it to make me go from 429 rank or whatever it was down to 2,000 in a week from doing one bad move because I'm one bad move away from getting out of that top 500, which would really kill it for me because I've been really trying to get that side into a good position and it's so hard to maintain that position when you're burning through trades when primos go down. So just a little bit of a random video. If you want more videos like this, please press the like video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. It was a bit of a ramble, a bit of a sort of random video to do. But yeah, hopefully see you guys in the next one. I'll speak to you later. Supercoach Pro signing out.